what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I'm your boy Auto Guy DIY, and if this is your first time stopping by, I'm glad you're here. So today we're gonna get into that cooling system flush on the 2009 Ram 1500. If you've been with me for the last few videos, you know I put some Prestone cooling system flush plus cleaner in there. I have a clogged radiator. So we're trying to go through the process of elimination with this truck, weed out all the small problems so we can get another 400,000 miles out of another Ram truck. So I got my water hose rolled out already. I got my radiator cap pulled. I did drive the truck a little bit this morning to kind of heat the engine up, maybe break some of that stuff loose before we jumped into this. I did let it cool down to the point where I could get the radiator cap off without being burned. So that's an important part to these flushes, especially the cooling system. When they're hot, they're under pressure. So make sure it's cool, make sure there's no pressure before you open your radiator cap. But with all of that, let's jump out here and get this party started. And we're out here at the truck. I'm gonna show you this radiator. You can see that stuff starting to come back once again. I'll show you the radiator cap once again. So first things first, we got the radiator popped open, you can see. Now we're gonna hop underneath here. We're gonna pull this plug. We're gonna drain this radiator first, and then we're gonna rinse this radiator out with the water hose before we get into it. So my drain plug down there at the bottom. Let me climb under this truck and we'll get it open. So we're under the truck. You can see your drain valve is right there. It's right up in here. Now look at the color of that water coming out of there. That is brown, dirty water. So this is on the driver's side of the vehicle, is where your drain valve is on your radiator at the bottom corner. So we're gonna let this drain out, and then I'm gonna run the water hose through the radiator to rinse all of that dirty looking water out of there. And then we'll get started on the rest of the truck, flushing out that coolant part. So yeah, let me get this drained out and we'll continue on. So there's your drain valve. I'm looking at it from the top of the truck. A key note is before you rinse that radiator out, you want to pull that drain plug all the way out, because if you crack it loose, it comes out of the bottom. There's a little drain spot, I guess we'll say. But yeah, we're gonna pull that completely out, and then we're gonna start rinsing this thing out. Just look at the color of the water coming out of there. That's another one of them sure signs that the radiator was clogged up with something. So now that the water's starting to run out, we're gonna kick that water hose on, and we're gonna rinse it until the water comes clean out of the radiator. I just got my water hose down in the neck of the radiator. Now look, I'm barely putting water in there. We're gonna come over here. You can see that water still coming out. It's still dirty. So we want to do this until that water is clean, and then we'll get into the rest of the radiator, cooling system flush. So this is step one. Once you get done with this, we'll jump to the next step. So two things I want to note. One, if you look down here, the water is getting clear. And two, when my water, after rinsing it out for a minute, I've noticed that the stream coming out of the drain valve has gotten better, which lets me know there was something in there at least partially blocking it. Before you move on to the next step, like I told y'all in the last video, we're gonna do this one different. Last time was more of a cooling system rinse out. So you wanna pop your upper radiator hose, leave your radiator cap off, and your little drain valve out down there. Put your hose in your upper radiator hose socket on your radiator, and then go. You want water to come out of your drain valve clear. You want water to come out of your radiator cap opening clear also. See how that water looks a little brown? So you want to flush them both ways before you jump to the next thing. We're trying to get all that stuff out of this cooling system. All right, second step. So you're gonna remove your thermostat. This side looks pretty clean, which is a good thing. I didn't want to go spend another $35 on another thermostat, but that side looks pretty dirty. So we'll clean that off for sure. And then you can look down in here. That looks pretty dirty again also. So what we're gonna do, we got the thermostat out. We're gonna put our thermostat housing back on, right? And we're just gonna get it snug because we don't care if it's leaking water right now. And then we're gonna pop our lower radiator hose off here, and we're gonna flush the engine block through the upper radiator hose down to the lower radiator hose. And then step 3, we're gonna take off a heater core line, and then we're gonna flush it separately. So it's really a 3-part deal. We did the radiator, now we're doing the engine block, then we're gonna get into the heater core, then we're gonna put it all back together, do a rinse on the whole thing with it together, coming out of the lower radiator hose, and after that, we'll finish this video. I got the lower radiator hose off. Quick note, on these 09 or 4th generation Rams, it is easier to get your lower radiator hose from the top of your truck. So there's no point in climbing underneath it and trying to get it off unless you're taking it off the water pump. If you're taking it off the radiator, get it from the top. So when I pop that hose off, let me show you this water real quick. I mean, it come out just terribly nasty brown and black water out of that lower radiator hose. So for me, I'm gonna go ahead and hit the water in the radiator, make sure that lower outlet or inlet is clear, and then we'll jump into the rest. So as you can see, the water's coming out clear, so that's good. The radiator should be good. Now I put my housing back on, no thermostat. I have my thermostat right here. Now you can't run these trucks without a thermostat, so just snug it up. You're not trying to tighten it up and you're not trying to get crazy on it. You just need water to flow through. So with that, my lower radiator hose is pointed down. I'm gonna try to put my camera to where y'all can see the water coming out of it. So I don't know how well this is gonna work, but I'm gonna leave y'all sitting right here and we'll see if we can't capture that water. Coming out dirty. Still coming out dirty. I mean, look at how brown that water is. So you want to continue this until the water's clear, and then we'll jump step 3. So I forgot to show y'all. All you do is put your hose in your upper radiator hose like so, and just run it. It'll run through. It's the purpose of taking your thermostat out, so it'll run straight through your engine block, all the way through, down to your lower radiator hose down here. So the water's starting to come out pretty clear, a lot clearer than whenever I first started. So I'm gonna run this probably another minute or so, and then we'll jump into flushing the heater core, and then that should be all the systems flushed individually on the truck. We'll put everything back together. We'll leave the upper radiator hose off, and we're gonna fill through there. And what we want is we want it to start coming out of the radiator cap. And one other thing, using your upper radiator hose like that and letting it drain out of your lower radiator hose will also rinse your hose out, which is an important deal. If something's stuck in there, then it's just gonna be reintroduced to your system, and then you're gonna deal with the same problem again. So that's that. I have good clear water coming out of my lower radiator hose. So now we're gonna pop a hose off here, one of my heater hoses. I know they say your inlet hose, which I believe, I'm not gonna say to hold me to it, but I believe this one here is my inlet hose. So we're gonna hook it up, and then we're gonna flush it, and then we're gonna put everything back together. Now that we got the engine block flushed out, we got the radiator flushed out, so I went down and bought a flush kit. It comes with little plastic tees, your little backup preventer valve here that hooks right up to a water hose. So I took off both of my heater core lines because I want to just run the water only through the heater core, seeing as we flushed everything else already, and why contaminate. So we're going to turn this on. I'm just going to hold my thumb over this T right here so the water will go through. We'll flush it out till it's clear. We'll put it all back together. We got the water on. You see it coming out. Luckily it's coming out clear. Let me get this camera right, man. We're tripping. You can see that water is clear. Now this process right here only rinses out your heater core. And just a side note, don't crank your water hose completely on. That could possibly be too much pressure and pop your heater core. So barely turn it on, let the water run until it's clear. One more quick tip. Me personally, I take my heater core hoses off my water pump right here. This seems easier than having to fight them all the way up in here. You can't even see where they connect to the firewall there. So for easiest access, me personally, I say take them off the water pump and flush that way. You get the same results. All right, so we got our heater core hoses hooked back up to our water pump. Got our lower radiator hose on down there. We put our little drain valve in. We didn't tighten it all the way up. We just put it back in. So I'm gonna run more water through the upper radiator hose, through the whole system. I want it coming out of the radiator cap. And once it comes out clear, we'll finish plugging the upper radiator hose back off. We'll put the thermostat back in. We'll fill it up, fire it up, bleed the system, and then we'll see how it goes from there. We're gonna put that thermostat back in. I'm gonna go over this again with y'all, just in case we got some newcomers to the community. So you see your little bleeder valve in there? When you install your thermostat, always put your bleeder valve to the top. Always to the top. I cannot stress that enough. Put your bleeder valve to the top and you won't have any problems. So the main thing I wanted to click y'all on about was, once I put everything back together like I showed y'all, I ran water through my upper radiator hose through the whole system, and it started coming out my upper radiator inlet on my radiator, and it come out dirty. So I finished rinsing until it was clear again. Now we're gonna put everything back together. See all them air pockets coming out of there? This is why you always let your engine run, radiator cap off so it don't build pressure. As it cycles and that thermostat opens and closes, it'll release the air pockets. What it doesn't release, that bleeder valve, when you put it at top, will do the same thing. So we're gonna continue this process until all the bubbles are out and it's topped off. Man, we're living the dream. All right guys, we got it all put back together, got it topped off. Gonna do our bleeding process. I have a video on that, you can check it out. My camera's about to die. So that's how you do the cooling system flush, not just a rinse out like the first video I put out. So that goes through all your systems. That gets your radiator completely cleaned out, your engine block and your heater core all separately. And then you run water through the whole system once you get it tied back in, just to make sure there's nothing loose left in there. So with all that, keep living the dream, doing your thing, like and subscribe. Always get at your boy with a comment, and I'm rolling out.